Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host, the Minister Jonathan Simmons. And we thank God for those of you who are watching us here on Facebook Live. Big shout out to those of you who are watching us here on Periscope as well. And a big shout out to those of you who are watching us on YouTube Live. We say thank you so much for watching us and joining us here on the Real Talk Sports Show. Big shout out, of course, on Periscope to the replay viewers. We thank you very, very, very much for your continued support of this show. All right, lots of stuff going on in the world of sports, as you guys would know. It is the NBA bubble. The playoffs are on and popping. We have the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference finals going on right now as we speak. We also have baseball, Major League Baseball, getting ready to head into the postseason as well. So we got a lot of stuff that's happening. And of course, football is back in a big, big, big way. Everywhere from high school football to college football, it's on and popping and it's back. So we're going to talk to some folks about some NBA basketball. We're going to talk about the Braves. We're going to talk about the Falcons. Oh my gosh, the Falcons. We're actually going to hold that to the last part of the broadcast. Falcons. Oh, buddy. I mean, what a situation we have with the Falcons after what we saw last Sunday, the total collapse of the team. We're going to talk about them just a little bit past the 8:30 hour, right around 8:45. We're going to bring in the embedded beat writer for AJC, which is D. Orlando Ledbetter. He's going to come on and talk to you about what the sensibility is right now that's going on in the camp. I can't envision being there right now. You know, it's going to be on and popping. Let's go to social media, see what's up here. And of course, we want to give a big shout out to everybody who is listening to us on WIGO 1570 Atlanta's Incredible Radio. That is our producer. Carl Eli Smith is in the building, and we thank God for him. He's behind the screens, making sure everything is happening, that you guys can hear us, because as well as watching us, this live stream broadcast is going forth on multiple platforms, including the radio. We're on radio on WIGO 1570 Atlanta's Incredible Radio. You also can find us on WIGOAM.com. You also can find us on the free TuneIn radio application. If you don't have it, please, ma'am, please, sir, download it right now. It's a free app, and you can tune in and listen to it anywhere in the world, and you can find this broadcast, and you put in WIGO. Excuse me. Oh, my gosh. Put in WIGO in the search engine, and voila, you will find us broadcasting to you right here and right now. Hopefully, I won't be doing any more choking and gagging here because we are on the air live. Praise the Lord. And we just thank God for, Lord have mercy for that. I'm probably have to take a little water break in just a second. But again, we appreciate all those of you who are watching us and listening to us on whatever portal it may be. Like I said, guys, there's been a lot going on in the world of sports. And, just it's so many things happening. You got the pandemic. You have the protest. You got the politics behind it. You have all the messaging that's going on now in professional sports where, you got really every professional sport, but especially football and basketball. You're now getting a heavy dose of politics as well. And again, I don't want to get too far down the pail here into the political end. We all know why this is going on. I tell people all the time that if, in fact, we all had been just forthcoming about some of the things that we saw, if we just admitted that, hey, some of the things that we saw were egregious and wrong, then a lot of these protests really wouldn't be going on right now. I'm just real honest with you. People just got to a point where they didn't know what to do. And I get it. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of stuff that I saw that I say, hey, I really don't need to see, because, when you watch a sporting event, the whole idea is to be an escape. And I certainly understand that. I look forward to the same thing. As a guy that's been involved in sports like most men for most of my life, you look forward to the Friday night lights. You look forward to the Saturday afternoon clashes on the college gridiron. And of course, you look for the all-day extravaganza of watching pro football, on your TV at home or at your local establishment, whether it be a sports bar and grill, whether it be at your boy's home, or whether it be, if you ladies are watching over your girlfriend's house, whatever it may be, it's kind of a time to have some fun and kind of escape and get away from things. So I'm not stupid. I get it. But at the end of the day, we're in a new time, a new generation. This generation feels that in order for them to be able to look themselves in the mirror and to be able to look at their sons and daughters, um, they feel they have to stand up and speak out and to speak up. And so that's what we have. So all that stuff is all intermingling. But I got to tell you, here in Georgia, it's like I said last week, it's football time in the state of Georgia. Man, they're playing football everywhere you can think of. Like I said, it's high school football, college football. Um, I hate to keep using the but I got to tell you, there was very little social distancing. I'm just being real. The high school games that we covered, Clayton County High School actually had the concession stand open. Now I'm assuming they serve prepackaged goods, but it was pretty much wide open. And unfortunately, I have to report this that we actually had two games canceled. We had a game that we normally telecast on Friday night. That game was canceled because of a young person that got the COVID, and now they're in the COVID protocol. And the way it works is that if you have, I guess, more than one student, your entire team cannot play. And that's the sensibilities here. So for the next 2 weeks, we will not be able to broadcast live from Clayton County, but we will hope to be able to bring you the events from other places and other townships that are playing. That's our whole goal, is to go to other counties and broadcast over the next couple of weeks. I should say over the next week, or waiting to get back on the air with Clayton County football. You're listening, watching, viewing, replay, live, the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host and minister, Jonathan Simmons. I have been doing sports broadcasting now for about a decade, something I came into completely by surprise. I had no idea I'd be a broadcaster. I didn't go to school for journalism, any of that stuff. But the Lord just provided this opportunity. I called in to WIGO, interestingly enough, on an evening that I didn't even suspect there'd be a sports show. I was listening to it because it was a gospel station in our area, and all of a sudden I heard a sports show. And I said, what the what? And as most sports shows do, and I'm going to do it a little different on our show, they say, hey, if you want to join the broadcast, call in. And they gave a phone number for us to call in. And like most people, I was like, man, I don't want to be on hold. I'm not going to do it. So the first couple of times, I didn't call in. But literally, I heard something telling me if they mention it again, call in. I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and call in. And I called in. The guy on the show, Vincent Turner, you heard him on my show a couple of times, Mr. Football, let me talk for about 5 minutes. And then afterwards, it was like out of a movie. It said, hey, caller, don't hang up. The producer of the show wants to talk to you. And it was Vince, and we had a couple of meetings, and that's how the Real Talk Sports Show was born. So we've been doing it now, and our whole goal really is to bring you sports from a different perspective. We want to give you kind of good news in sports. There's a lot of bad news out there. We get it. But what we hope to do is bring you some of the good news in sports and let you guys kind of hear some of the good stories. And speaking of that, if you have a compelling story, ma'am or sir, if you know someone that's doing something good in the world of sports, whether it be an athlete, student athlete, whether it be a coach, whether it be a parent, whatever it may be, please let me know. We'd love to have them on the show. I'm going to pop up my name on the screen here and my telephone number, so you might be able to reach me. We'd love to have them on the air and talk to us right here. There's the number, 678-410-9833. Just ask for me, the minister, Jonathan Simmons, and we'd love to get their story and have them on the air. So please go ahead and give us a call. We'd love to do it. Also, if you'd like to support the program, help us to keep this good news out and about, and also kind of get your name out there, please let us know. We'd be more than happy to send you our advertising and partner packages. They're very reasonable. I'll show you how one of them works right now. If you look up in the upper right-hand corner over there, oh, I got the wrong way. There we go. If you look in the corner, you can see the logo right there. That's the Real Talk Sports logo. Well, one of our sponsors for high school football is Mr. Allen Vigil Ford. Well, in fact, you could have your logo right up there, and that could be part of your branding right there. You could have it there. Also, the other thing that we do provide for our advertisers as well is, in fact, we have a streaming ticker. And I'll show you that for those of you who are watching us here. The streaming ticker comes right around the bottom. And we do this again for Allen Vigil Ford because they are our sponsor for high school football. There it is right there. And that would be your messaging. It would come right across the bottom of the screen. We'd hold it up there so people can see and hear more about your business. So if you want to do that, we would love to have you join us. Like I said, again, give me a call. I'll pop my number back on the screen. It's 678-410-9833. We love you have to be a part of our program and join us here because, again, we are about talking good news. Now, every now and then they force me to talk the bad news because, people in the world of sports are like any other people. Every now and then you get a bad actor and we have to talk about the chaos that they're bringing to the situation. But most of the times, like I said again, we really try to focus on the good news of sports and what is going on that is something that's going to uplift you. So that's what we're going to try to do each and every week. Speaking of uplift, we got a guy that joins us as much as he can. He's a very, very busy man because now he has been over the last year or so, maybe a little bit longer, not only covering sports, but all the good stuff, I should say the exciting stuff that's going on in the world of pop culture. Brian Jones is back in the building. Brian, welcome back, sir.
So much for having me on, Jonathan. Always a pleasure.
Well, Brian, it is you got some excitement going on right up the road from us. Like I said, sports is back, and the good news is our Atlanta Braves are lighting it up. Look like they're just a few games away from clinching, I believe, the NL East.
So what they're in a position right now where because the Phillies lost in the first game of the doubleheader today against the Nationals, all the Braves had to do, and they're actually leading against the Marlins tonight, 2-0. If they win this game tonight, then they clinch the NL East. They have a 100% chance of making the playoffs anyway, and essentially they hold a tiebreaker over the Marlins. The magic number currently is 3, but because they hold that tiebreaker, all they have to do is win one of the next 3 games against the Marlins, and they pretty much clinch the NL East. Then after that, it's just all about playoff seeding. It looks like they could get the number 2 seed because I think they're a game or 2 behind the Chicago Cubs. They're not going to catch. They're probably not going to catch the Dodgers for a number 1, but they want to finish strong. They want to get the division wrapped up tonight and then try to finish the season strong and try to get that number 2 seed. If they were to, the playoffs were to start today, they'd probably play a team like the St. Louis Cardinals or maybe even the Phillies or something like that. But yeah, all they have to do is win one more game and they clinch the NL East.
Well, certainly that's very exciting, man. I mean, I know that everybody here in Atlanta is hungry for a championship, and the Braves have not won a title since 1995. I can't believe it's been 25 years since the Bravos won. They were one of the dominant teams in Major League Baseball throughout the 90s and early 2000s. Went to the World Series 4 times. Did finally come away with their single and lone championship in 95. But I mean, Atlanta sports fans, after the disappointments that they have seen both in pro and in college sports, they want to see a winner. And it looks like this Atlanta team is poised. What's been the biggest key really for this team's success in this, really compressed season of only 60 games?
The biggest thing for them is what they've been able to do in the bullpen, whether it's Mark Melancon closing, AJ Minter, Will Smith. Those guys have been producing really well. I think they have an ERA of just a little over 3, which is really good. You're talking about the bullpen. And then also the offense. Marcell Ozuna hit a home run. He hit his 16th home run of the year. If it was a full 162-game season, it would be equal to 43. And then you're getting great production out of Adam Duvall. And both of those guys are in contract years. So the Braves will have to make some tough decisions on those two. And then you're getting production out of your usual guys, whether it's Ozzy Albies, Ron Acuna, who both dealt with injuries, but they bounced back pretty well. And then Freddie Freeman, who should be top contender for the MVP award. And it's funny because the starting rotation, the expectations were a bit high, considering you're getting Max Fried and Mike Soroka. Mike Soroka injured his Achilles, so he's out for the year. Cole Hamels is out for the rest of the year because of a shoulder injury he's dealing with, and then Sean Newcomb and Mike Fultonevich, those guys have been assigned to the Braves training site. So the starting rotations have been depleted, and the fact that they're able to stay in first place and be one of the top teams in Major League Baseball, it just goes to show you how talented they are in other aspects, whether it's on offense, whether it's the bullpen. So I think those two keys have really separated the Braves from all the teams in the NL East and the majority of teams in the National League.
And speaking of offense, that's one of the things that we have been, I think, shocked by is just how potent this Braves team has been. They've had multiple games where they've scored double-digit runs. Of course, that incredible game where they actually posted up 29 runs against the Marlins. What has really been the big change? We know they had a potent offense before, but this team looks absolutely explosive. What's the key?
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where it's funny because Josh Donaldson, you would have thought that the loss of him, the offense would take a step back. But
Right.
they're able to bring in Marcell Ozuna, who on the Braves know really well. He played with the Cardinals last year, and I think the improvement of Adam Duvall actually a guy who played well with the Reds and then just took a step back. And then when he got to the Braves, got off to a slow start, was sent back to the minors just to get his just to get his bat right, and then he's just been taken off ever since. I think him, Adam Duvall has been the biggest key, and again, as I mentioned, your usual suspects when it comes to Freddie Freeman, Ronald Acuna, Ozzy Albies, and Albies and Acuna are guys who are talented, but they're still improving when it comes to all of their aspects of the game. So I don't think it's necessarily they didn't make any significant changes. They made a couple additions here and there, but I just think it's the fact that they've been able to keep this roster intact for the last couple of years, I think that's really benefited them. And as you mentioned, this offense is talented, has been talented in years past, but this year, like going into tonight's games, the Braves have scored more runs than any other team in Major League Baseball. So they know how to get the job done, and I think that they're close to hitting 50 home runs this year, or maybe 40 or 50 home runs this year. So they know how to get hits. They know how to get extra bases. They know how to drive the ball out of the park. So this is everything you want out of an offense going into the playoffs.
Yeah, no doubt. These guys are, like you said, they're offensive juggernaut. I mean, you talk about a team, as you just mentioned, leading the league, and you have now a guy that has quietly, again, has his name right in the runnings for MVP, and that's Freddie Freeman. Is he really one of the most overlooked superstars in baseball right now?
I think he is, and I think there's several reasons to that. I think when you look at the landscape in the National League, whether it's Mookie Betts from the Dodgers or Fernando Tatis of the Padres, they're just putting up explosive numbers. What you're getting out of Freddie Freeman is he leads the league in doubles. He's among the league leaders in batting average. He's among the league leaders in RBIs, and he's getting up there in home runs. I think he's just a guy that's not very flashy. He's just going to get the job done every day. It kind of reminds you of Matt Ryan with the Falcons. He puts up numbers, but even though he's won an MVP award, but he's just not considered one of the top guys year in and year out. I think Freddie Freeman is considered the best first baseman in the National League, but he's not considered one of those guys that when you talk about household names or top Major League Baseball players, his name doesn't come up first, second, or third. All he does is get the job done, and he's showing that this year in a 60-game season. So hopefully he gets some MVP votes. I'm not sure if he'll actually win the award because I think with those guys I mentioned, Mookie Betts, Fernando Tatis, guys like that will probably get more recognition. But hopefully Freddie Freeman does get a lot more votes than he has in years past.
Right, no doubt. Well, listen, guys, everybody's listening to us and watching. We thank you for listening and watching the Real Talk Sports Show. We'll take a quick little break, and then we'll be back with more Real Talk Sports as we narrow in on the Braves and their chances for the World Series. And what do you think about the records that post up in such a short season? We'll be back with more.
This is OJ Howard with Real Talk Sports.
What's up, guys? This is Tim Tebow. You're listening to Real Talk Sports.
This is Charles Woodson. Let me grab the mic. You ready? This is Charles Woodson with Real Talk Sports. Hey, it's your boy JB Smooth with Real Talk Sports.
And we are back here. You listen to the Real Talk Sports Show as we broadcast to you on multiple platforms. First of all, big shout out to those who are listening to us on the radio, on WIGO, AM 1570, Atlanta's Incredible Radio. WIGO, primarily the gospel station, three-time Stellar Award finalist, and in 2017 brought home the Brick Prize in an upset over the number one gospel station in the nation. That's right, 2017. WIGO was awarded the Stellar Award for being the best gospel station in a major market. So that's what we broadcast on if you guys are listening to us on the radio. And of course, you can hear us on WIGOAM.com. And you can go to our website at realtalksports.net. Again, big thank you and shout outs to those of you who are listening on the replay. We thank you so much. We really do for tuning in to us and sharing our broadcast. If it wasn't for you, we would not be able to do it. All right, Brian, the big question I have here when I look at this season, because we're only talking 60 games, is where do you think this season should rank, and should we have a situation where potentially a team would get an asterisk besides their name if they're the World Series winner, or if in fact the records they put up. Like in fact, if Freddie was able to win the Triple Crown, should there be an asterisk next to those awards?
Me personally, I don't think so. I kind of understand um, some people who would say put an asterisk by it, but I think due to circumstances beyond Major League Baseball's control, they had this shortened the season to 60 games. I think shortening the season to 60 games is better than not playing baseball at all, which is something you don't want, especially with baseball trying to compete with the NFL and the NBA being one of the top professional sports leagues in the country. Again, like 60 games is something very different, something that's never been done before.
Right.
And because of that, you have these different rules, whether it's the designated hitter with the National League, with double headers having 7 innings instead of 9. When you go to extra innings, there's a runner on second base automatically. And then with the playoffs, where the expansion is 16 teams from what it normally is to 10. And I think because of that, um, they'll go back for the 2021 season. They'll go back to the normal rules, except for the playoffs. I think Rob Manfred, the commissioner, he told USA Today that he would like to see it expand to 14, but only time will tell when it comes to that. So I don't know. I don't think there should be an asterisk by it because they're playing baseball. They're going to determine the World Series champion. There's going to be an MVP, Rookie of the Year, those things like that. Yes, it is a shortened season, but at the same time, these teams are still have to get the job done. They have to find a way to win, and it's the teams that you pretty much predicted, whether it's a regular season, and those are the teams that are on top. Whether it's the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Braves, these are teams that were predicted to be on top for a 162 game season. They're getting the job done in 60 games, so I don't think there's necessarily should be an asterisk by it.
Well, I think it's going to be pretty interesting, man. Like I said, again, I think that you hit it on the head. People are just hungry for sports. I know when I went out, like I mentioned, I cover high school football. I was certainly kind of startled that they had fans in kind of right off the rip from game one. And by game two, they were already offering 4 tickets to the games to friends and family. So, but I got to tell you, we're the people social distancing. We're doing it a weird way. So a family would come in and they would all kind of cluster together. Then there would be like 10 feet and like a couple other friends would cluster together and there'd be like another 6 feet. So the people, I think, were trying to do the best they can to social distance, but I guess they felt, hey, if you rode in the car with me already, we already, you're in my family house. We're going to go ahead and do what we have to do. And I will tell you that there was an energy amongst the people. There was an excitement, to some degree, a happiness. People just seem like we're free, which is out. So, I mean, I get it. I just want everybody, again, to be safe. That's the mantra we preached here, is that we just want to make sure they're being safe. One other thing here, we want to talk baseball. Tell people a little bit about the format. What I'm understanding is baseball has changed everything up as far as the way they're going to do the playoffs this year. Just talk to us a little bit about that.
So what they're doing is, again, I mentioned that it expanded to 16 teams instead of 10. So as normal, the division winners from each of the leagues, East, West, and Central, they automatically get a playoff berth. Then those second place teams behind the first place teams will automatically get a playoff berth. And then the 7th and 8th teams from each league, those are just teams determined by the best record. So it's just going to go. And when it comes to the playoff bracket, it's going to be the highest seeded team, number 1, taking on the lowest seed team, number 8, in those first round games. Now, those first round games are best of 3. So all those teams need to do is win 2 of the next 3 to advance. And then it will be the divisional series where it's the best of 5. Then the championship series and the World Series will be their normal best of 7. What they're doing this year for the divisional round and the championship series and the World Series is having these games at neutral sites. The World Series is going to be played in Arlington, Texas, as well as a National League Championship game, or Championship Series. And then for the American League, I think that's going to be at the Padres Stadium. And then the Dodgers have been selected as a team playing or hosting the divisional series. And I think there's another city that's hosting the National League. I forgot at the top of my head, but it's just something that baseball wants to do to cut down travel, kind of like a bubble, what you have in the NBA, but they're just having it at different locations and neutral stadiums. So is this something that Major League Baseball wanted to try out? And again, as I mentioned, Rob Manfred probably wants to go expand it to 14 from 10 moving forward towards the future. So they're just trying to see how this all works. Obviously, when it comes to the World Series, they want these teams to play at their home stadiums. But one of the things also to look forward to in the playoffs is they're probably going to have fans. That's what
Right.
they're moving towards for the National League Championship Series and the World Series. Both of those are going to be played in Arlington. So that's what they're looking for. If they get approval, then they're going to start selling tickets soon. So playoffs is going to be interesting. I always love Major League Baseball playoffs. I think it's very compelling. I think it will be the same regardless of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, I think some pretty interesting. What I thought was weird was for me was the whole idea is that they would take the American League teams and let them play their playoff games in the National League ballparks and vice versa.
Right.
Because my feeling was, okay, at least if you play them in the actual stadiums of the same league, if you let's just say we allowed some limited fans, the people watching there at least would have some familiarity of the teams they're watching. I understand with interleague play and all that kind of stuff, but it just to me was odd that they would do that. I felt now maybe for the World Series you might want to do something like that, but for the playoffs it's kind of weird. The other thing I think is kind of cool is having this 3-game thing. I never really was a big fan of the 1 game and out because it really was a disservice to the team that even the team that was home for that 1 game, it was kind of disservice because you played 162 games and you had a team that might have finished maybe 4 or 5 games behind you. And now that team could basically in 1 game eliminate all that good work. So I do like the idea of having best of 3, even if they say, hey, we're not going to expand to 14 teams. I think there's 1 game and out is not right. I mean, I know people say, well, hey, let's harken back to the days. Of course, we've had some classic 1-game playoffs, the Dodgers against the Giants back in the 50s before either of us was born. That's right. Before I was born, 2 people. Don't be looking some kind of way. And the unbelievable 1978 showdown between the Red Sox and the Yankees for the Eastern Division crown. We get that, but this is something a little different. This kind of wild card entry berth, I think it should be 3 games going forward. I don't care how many teams they play because, again, I'm trying to look at something that would be fairer to that team that maybe had as much of a 5 or 6 game lead over the other guy, and now they're out after 1 game.
Baseball is determined by series and not necessarily by 1 game. You see it in college, you see it even in high school when it comes to the playoffs. So having this 1 game, and I kind of get it, it is compelling, but Braves fans will tell you they've experienced disappointment when it comes to these 1 game wild card playoff games. So I think they should definitely, if they make any other changes to the playoffs, it should be having these best of 3 series for the wild card because it's just based on series. I don't think your season should be determined by 1 game when you're playing series all throughout the year. So I think that's something that they'll definitely look at moving forward.
I'm just saying, man, at the end of the day, I'm hoping to see that. Whether they do it or not, I don't know. But to me, that's the fairest way to kind of go about it and, kind of give everybody a fair shot. Because, again, 162 games. Now, again, people can talk about the 1 game playoffs before, but that was different. That was a situation where in those cases, you had either going back in the 50s, you didn't have any playoffs. Either you won the pennant or you didn't. So it was compelling to see that 1 game after 162 games, winner takes all. Great. Same thing in 1978. They didn't have, you just had the divisional playoffs. That's it. Or the championship series, no divisional playoffs. So you went right from whoever won the West, whoever won the East, they squared off. And so, again, I understand that. 162 games, Red Sox, Yankees, storied rivalry. That 1 game in Fenway Park was it was incredible. But now it's different. You have divisional series, then you have the championship series. To me, to have these 1 game wild card in or out, I don't like it. So baseball, keep that around. And plus, everybody makes more money, right? Everybody likes to playoff games. You can charge more for the tickets. Fan engagement is higher. And just think about it when you have a 1-1 situation and now a game 3, pivotal game 3, it's like a game 7, And I just think it's really great if you could have something like that. All right. Well, Brian, listen, I know that your schedule is compressed. The Braves are on. So we're going to let you go. But how can people find out more about you, social media, website, where they can get the best of Brian Jones?
Yeah, I'm the trending sports writer for popculture.com. You can find my work at popculture.com/sports. Today I wrote about Rob Manfred's interview with USA Today talking about baseball and the playoffs, so be sure to check that out. And for any trending or entertainment news, you can just go to popculture.com. We do a great job of covering some of the top news stories in the country and in the world. So again, that's popculture.com. You can follow me on Twitter. That's at Brian Jones_PC. I will post my stories there as well. I also have a podcast called Always Football Season. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts. And I also have a Facebook page for the podcast, facebook.com/Always Football Season.
There is, guys, Brian L. Jones, the guy that gives you the latest and greatest in sports and in pop culture. He's on the scene, in the scene, around the scene, and he's the right guy to follow if you want to know what's going on in the world of sports and in entertainment as well. Brian, listen, we appreciate you so much for joining us, man. We look forward to having you back again, as you know, real soon.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much for having me on.
That's Brian Jones in the building. We appreciate him for joining us. He always brings us some stuff, the inside, of course, of our Atlanta Braves, also what's going on with pop culture, because it's got to a point now where kind of sports and entertainment, they are really intertwined. And there's so much that goes on. We don't talk about too much of it here. We might start talking a little bit about it because a lot of the stuff is so salacious, man. A lot of it's about relationships and who's cheating on who and who's having a baby by whom. And I mean, to me, what that got to do with sports at the end of the day? But we also have some stuff with people talking about their shoe deals and sneaker contracts and all kinds of things like that. So we do hope to bring some people on. We look to bring on some of the female athletes for a couple of reasons. Number one, I like the ladies. And number two, the females are underrepresented as far as on this mass media platform. And they really got some great stories going on, man. Some of these women are really, doing some big stuff in the entrepreneurial field. And Atlanta has produced some outstanding female athletes, especially in the world of basketball, and both young ladies I had a chance to interview. What I'm thinking about right now, they both have been top basketball players in the state of Georgia. We've also had a chance to interview back when she was in high school, the National Player of the Year. She just won the NBA Most Valuable Player. And so we're going to be bringing on some of these young ladies to have them talk to you now that their season is over, or just about over, I believe, and let them talk to you about what they have going on in the world of sports. And also, we're looking for you to bring us your stories. If you got a student athlete, if you got a coach, if you have a parent, administrator that's doing some big things or some things to help out in the community, we want to know. Please contact us. Let me go ahead and pop my phone number up for those of you who might be watching the show. And also for those who are listening, I'll repeat the number and information very, very slowly. The telephone number is 678-410-9833. You can contact me personally, the minister, Jonathan Simmons, and I'll be more than happy to hear your story and bring you on. Also, we are looking for help. That's right. We're looking for helpers in all aspects. If you really want to get involved with doing this live stream production, helping us make our broadcast better, as I like to say. Also, you can contact me in that same number, 678-410-9833. We're affiliated with WIGO 1570. So if you're a college student and an intern, we can set it up that we can fill out all the paperwork so you can get some college credit. Now, how cool would it be to have some hands-on experience in the world of broadcast media, live streaming, and also get some credit for college? So we are looking for you in all aspects. We're looking for script writers. We're looking for associate producers. We're looking for camera people. We're looking for people who have some expertise in the area of live streaming, multi-camera shoots, all of that. We're also looking for some great audio people. People know how to mix and cut some stuff. Matter of fact, we're even going to start bringing on some beats. So if you are a songwriter and you've got some music out there that we can play on the broadcast, bring it. We'd love to have you. Again, contact me. You can see the number right there. Let's see. I got the finger here. There's the number, 678-410-9833. Ask for me, yours truly, the minister, Jonathan Simmons. And again, we'd love to have you part of the Real Talk Sports Show broadcast. All right, guys, keep it locked right here. We hope to have our basketball savant join us in just a little bit to talk to us about what's happening in the NBA bubble. because basketball goes on. Don't go anywhere. Keep it locked right here on the Real Talk Sports Show, and we'll be back in just a moment. Stay tuned.
This is OJ Howard with Real Talk Sports.
What's up, guys? This is Tim Tebow. You're listening to Real Talk Sports.
This is Charles Woodson. Let me grab the mic. You ready? This is Charles Woodson with Real Talk Sports. Hey, it's your boy JB Smooth with Real Talk Sports.
Hey, we are back. You're listening to the Real Talk Sports Show, and I'm your host, the Minister Jonathan Simmons, and we're broadcasting to you live on multiple platforms, and we thank you. That's right, YOU, for listening to our broadcast, taking time out. I know there's lots of stuff going on. You got NBA playoffs happening. You got Major League Baseball going on. We got it. We appreciate you, each and every one of you, for listening, because without you listening, without you watching, we couldn't do this. And so we appreciate you very much. And here's the other thing. We're looking for you to be one of our partners. That's right. We're looking for people who are like Clean Cut Sports, like some little gentle banter back and forth, like a little diversity, because we try to bring people on different age brackets, young, old, male, female. Please contact me at the number you see on your screen for those of you who are watching. And for those of you who are listening, I would read the number for you, 678-410-9833. Ask for me, Jonathan Simmons. We got some great packages here, and we even have some spotlights available. Now listen to this. Starting as low as $25. $25 to get a website presence. That's where it all starts. For as little as $25. We'll have you on our website. We'll have you on some of our social media posts. And then you'll know you're partnering also with some good stuff, because, again, we constantly try to focus on the good news of sports. So please, man, please, sir, if you are inclined to be a part of that, please join us. And like I said, give me a call. I'll pop it up one more time, 678-410-9833. Love to have you here. One of our sponsors, we want to give them a big shout out, Allen Vigil Ford and Lincoln. You see, for those of you who are watching, it's their logo in the upper right-hand corner. And they also get a scrolling banner. And you'll see it right there. They are the Clayton County High School football. They power our broadcast each and every week with their donation and contributions to cover the cost of the show. It also allows us to give some small gifts and prizes from time to time to the high schools themselves. And we're looking to expand that to do an actual player of the week on defense and on offense. So, again, big shout out to Allen Vigil Ford. And for those of you considering sponsoring us, those are one of the ways that we put your message out, is that ticker right there across the screen, as well as the upper right-hand corner where you see the logo as well. So, yeah, man, join us here. We'd love to have you be a part of our broadcast as we do some great stuff here. We'll look at the NBA bubble as we wait for our buddy to join us, Mr. Deshaun Tate. Now it's basically down to 4. We got the Miami Heat squared off against the Boston Celtics. Last time I checked, that series was at 2-1. The Heat had the edge, and the Lakers now up 2-0 over the Denver Nuggets. And, it's interesting because when you look at these teams and you look at, kind of where they are, everybody, I think, really wanted a showdown between Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James in the Western Division, a title. And the Clippers looked like they were on their way to do that. They were up 3-1 over Denver, and they collapsed and lost. Now, I'm not quite sure what's been going on with Doc Rivers, because as people have pointed out, they did a track record of Doc Rivers when he's actually had the ability to clinch a series. And I think he's something like 1-5, including, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 3 losses when he has teams up 3-1. It's not a good look. We, of course, know that the Black Mamba got him when he was coaching the Celtics, trying to get back-to-back titles. The Celtics, believe it or not, people forget they were up 3-2 in that series, and they lost both games. Now, some of that was out of Doc Rivers' control. Kendrick Perkins, who had been a big key in the paint in that series, got injured and was not able to play. And that really, people say, well, who's Kendrick Perkins? Well, was he a star player? No, but his beef was giving the Lakers a lot of trouble down low. And when the Celtics lost him, they really weren't the same team. And, of course, then the Black Mamba lit him up, as only the late, great Kobe Bryant could do, and consequently they lost. But, yeah, Doc Rivers doesn't appear to be a good guy to have as your coach if you're trying to clinch a playoff series. Again, I think his record overall, if I'm not mistaken, was 1-5 when his team has an opportunity to close out their opponent. So we don't see the Clippers. No Kawhi Leonard, a guy who many people think that right now, I'm not talking about 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I'm talking about right now. A lot of people still feel that he is probably the best overall player in the league, even ahead of Giannis, even ahead of LeBron, who is almost like the ageless wonder at 35, still balling out, still being a dominant player on the court. But if you look at Kawhi Leonard, he's a guy that especially if you look at LeBron don't want no part of Kawhi. No part. Never has and probably never will. Because Kawhi, with his length, with his tenacity, with his ability to stay in your grill fearlessly, is a daunting challenge for even a guy like LeBron James. And even going back 5 or 6 years ago when he was still in his prime, yeah, Kawhi gave him all he could handle and then some. So Kawhi Leonard, as he showed by taking a Toronto team that nobody really believed could win a world title, took them all the way to win that championship. Again, people expected him to be there against the Lakers, but it's a no-show. Instead, we have the Nuggets, and Nuggets have a guy that played right here. We are happy to see our buddy Paul Millsap. Paul Millsap was a guy that was a grinder here in Atlanta, was a quiet superstar here. I think a 3-time All-Star while he played here in Atlanta. A guy that just brought it every single week. Oftentimes couldn't quite get us over the hump, but he really was an integral player in those 4-year run that Atlanta had when they were really one of the top 10 teams in all of basketball, and still to this day hold the record of an incredible 19-0 overall for a month. That's right. The Atlanta Hawks were 19-0 for an entire month, which nobody has ever done in NBA history. So big shout out and kudos to Coach Bud, who won the title. Again, we want to give a shout out to Paul Millsap, who's on the Denver Nuggets, and hopefully his team can at least get at least win a couple of games here against LeBron and the Lakers, because I know all y'all out there watching really want to see the Lakers in this thing. And really, I guess the biggest showdown would be, I think from a NBA point of view, everybody would like to see a Celtics-Lakers rematch. We haven't had that in a while. And really for the better part of the NBA history, that legendary lineup, no matter who was in the lineup for the green and no matter who was in the lineup for the purple and gold, that's what everybody wanted to see in the NBA Finals. That's what we saw throughout the 60s, through a little bit of the 70s, but it was revived really into the 80s. And then we saw it in the mid-2000s with Kobe and the big three, Kevin Garnett and those guys over at Boston. So I think from a historical point of view, it'd be pretty cool to see the Celtics and the Lakers go at one more time. But man, the Miami Heat, they look like they're not playing. I mean, they have, that look of irritation. And to give Coach Rosa some credit, I know I'm mispronouncing his name, but here's a guy that basically, no superstar per se. I shouldn't say that. Not a guy who everybody would necessarily think would be an all-NBA player, but a guy that really, wherever he goes, he brings nasty with him. I mean, he just, no matter what you do, this guy comes to play. And Jimmy Butler is the guy I'm talking about. Matter of fact, he's called the Heat's alpha dog, the leader of the pack. And he's that way wherever he goes. He plays with a nasty chip on his shoulder wherever he decides to play. And like I said, kudos to him, for bringing this Heat team to the brink of the NBA Finals. And with not a huge supporting cast. So hats off to Jimmy Butler. That's the kind of guy that you really want on your team. And so when I think about a guy like Jimmy Butler, which I think at one point the Hawks had a chance to get him as a free agent, we'll shift gears a little bit here and talk about our local Atlanta Hawks. I'm wondering, Hawks fans, what do we need to do to get to that next level? What do Hawks need to do? We have our own 2 budding superstars in Trae Young and John Collins. And I think these 2 guys, if they continue to develop, could be a modern-day version of Stockton to Malone. That's how good potentially these guys are. But my question is, what else does Atlanta need to get over the hump? Because you got the Heat with Jimmy Butler. You got the Celtics with that great nucleus that they have there. And it kind of makes you wonder, can the Hawks be competitive? Even as great as Trae Young appears to be, because he looks like he's a step away. I don't want to say Steph Curry level, because this is a guy who's a 2-time MVP, guy that's won multiple titles. So I don't know if he's there yet, but he certainly is knocking at the door to potentially be a performer that at least is in that conversation. And especially if John Collins can continue to step up his game, because if you look at him now, what Collins is able to do as a full court player, what I mean full court player, he certainly can destroy on the break. He's one of the best dunkers in basketball. He is a great guy as far as getting those garbage points around the paint, always double digits in rebounds most of the time. And now has developed a nifty outside shot, can hurt you from 15, 20 feet, and from now, every now and then can hurt you with a three-pointer. So you look at the Hawks, they look like they have the potential to get to the next level, but what do they need? That's the question. What do the Atlanta Hawks need to be able to compete? Love to have your feedback here on social media. I'll pop this question up here so you guys can hopefully answer it. Again, we appreciate all of you who are watching us on every single portal, like say YouTube or Facebook Live and Periscope. But the big thing on Periscope, I want to give a shout out to the replay listeners. You guys are off the chain. And please share this broadcast. Please, man, please, sir, share. Share the broadcast and let other people know what we got going on here on the Real Talk Sports Show. Anyway, question is, what do the Hawks need to do to be able to be a top flight NBA team? So what do the ATL Hawks need to do to be a top flight NBA team? Is it a free agency? Do they need a different coach? A lot of people have been pushing back against Lloyd Pierce, thinking that maybe he's not the guy. I don't want to say he lost the team, but it seemed like a lot of time the team did not listen to him. Offensively, Hawks could score with anybody, but defensively, look at it, they wanted no part of guarding anybody. And it's kind of been that way for most of the time I cover the Hawks. I'm going back to like maybe 2008 when they made that run against the Celtics, even though the HC, where they played the Celtics extremely well. But most of the time I've been watching the Hawks, it seems like they've not had the players that they need to take them to the next level, especially guys that could give them a little bit of that nastiness. You know what I mean? You always need to have a guy on your team that's a little edgy, a guy that could maybe, again, I'm not trying to, ask anybody to get hurt or throw punches at anybody or do anything illegal, but you need a guy to be an enforcer, a guy that if something jumps off, this guy is going to be a guy that's going to handle his business. And it's funny because on my show, I had the opportunity a few years back to interview the great Terry Cummings. And Terry Cummings was an enforcer for the Milwaukee Bucks. He was just a rough guy, tough guy. And the interesting thing was, like me, he was a minister. Okay, so that was the thing that was so crazy. He was a guy that was a minister by trade, but he was a brawler. And when I brought him on, I said, hey, I'm just curious, what allowed you to be such an enforcer in the NBA? And he said it didn't go against his beliefs or his religion. He said it was like this. He had a job to do, and his job was to make sure that people didn't cross the line and understand the rules of engagement. And he said the other part of his job was that if they did, was to correct their bad behavior. And that's what the Hawks don't have. Now, they're hoping to get a guy that's similar to that, Clint Capella, that we got over from Houston. They're hoping that maybe this guy can give them the kind of intestinal fortitude down low that can make them a real contender. But I don't know. I'm not sure what these Atlanta Hawks need to do to get them to the next level. You guys know better than me, so hopefully you guys can tell me. So that's the big question. Before we go to a break, I'm going to leave it open one more time. What do the Hawks need to do to compete for a NBA title? That's my question. I'm going to pop it up here on social media for those of you who are watching. And then once we do that, we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to talk some football because, man, this is a rough weekend if you were Atlanta fan. I mean, I'm just saying. But we're going to talk about that in just a second. Before we do that, I'm going to pop it up here on the screen real quick. For those of you listening on WIGO, we'd love to have you join us. Put your comments on social media if you want to hop on Facebook. But here's the question. What do the Hawks need to do to compete for an NBA title? What do you think, guys? What do they need to do? Who do they need to get? That's our big question. So we'll give you a quick second to answer this here. The other thing I'm going to do here is I'm also going to set it up so that we're going to let you guys pop in on the broadcast. That's right. We're going to give you the opportunity to join us on the broadcast. I'll put the link up. We come back for the break. But right now, we're going to go to a break. You listen to the Real Talk Sports Show. We appreciate you from whatever portal you're listening. Don't go anywhere. Keep it locked right here for more.
This is OJ Howard with Real Talk Sports.
What's up, guys? This is Tim Tebow. You're listening to Real Talk Sports.
This is Charles Woodson. Let me grab the mic. You ready? This is Charles Woodson with Real Talk Sports. Hey, it's your boy JB Smooth with Real Talk Sports.
Hell, and there it is, guys. We're back. You're listening to the Real Talk Sports Show as we broadcast you on every portal we can think of. For those of you listening to us, you know you can hear us on WIGO AM 1570, Atlanta's Incredible Radio, or on WIGOAM.com. You also know that we are watching, those of you watching us on YouTube Live, on Facebook Live, and also on Periscope, especially you replay viewers. We thank you so much. Let's go to social media real quick before we bring on our featured guest for the day. First of all, we had a comment here from Mr. H.C. Hardy. He said the Hawks need strong veteran leadership, kind of what they got when they had Vince Carter, but is still hungry for a title. Also, a performer in the paint, aka like Paul Millsap. So you're right. If they could bring back a young Paul Millsap, that'd be great. And of course, we couldn't have a show unless we had a comment from Mr. Football. He wants to throw a shot at you Georgia Tech fans and at me because I said last week that Georgia Tech, with either a big win or a competent performance against UCF, would put themselves on the map nationally. And he said, God bless, good show. He said, however, what about Georgia Tech getting beat last weekend? Then he said, go Dogs. All right, so much for Mr. Football and his comments. Well, anyway, we're going to talk about a heartbreaker. Sad event. This gentleman here is a outstanding, award-winning sports writer. He is the embedded beat sports writer for AJC Sports for our Atlanta Falcons. He is also a great teacher of the industry of the world of sports journalism, Esquire par excellence, the one and only D. Orlando Ledbetter. Welcome back to our show, sir.
Thank you, Reverend Simmons. Thanks for having me on Real Talk Sports again.
D-Led, you know, I've been doing this now for about a decade, and I kind of been trying to pride myself in not going to fandom. You know, I watch these games. Okay, man, now you have to put your reporter hat on and just look at the game like a reporter and analyze the game. But I will tell you that at several points during the Falcon game, including the fourth quarter, I kind of slipped into fandom, and I really was feeling some kind of way. What happened to the Falcons in the fourth quarter, sir?
Yeah, well, Reverend, I understand that, those emotions that we go through, the passion that we follow sports with and so forth. So, it was a lot of up and down going on through that game. But, they had several points where they had an opportunity to win that game and close it out. They didn't do it. From Julio's drop pass, the non-stops on the defense giving up 30 points, the defense giving up 4 of 4 in the red zone. I think it was 6 of 8 on third down. It was just a total and complete collapse. You get comfortable, you got to lead, you start chilling. These kids don't have the killer instinct. They should have took Dallas out. The score could have been 41-10 at halftime.
Right.
They got 4 turnovers. They stopped 2 fake punts, and 29-10 lead's pretty good. Should be enough. But the team they're playing this week built a 17-point lead against the Giants, and they held their 17-point lead. They won 17-13. So you should be able to hold a 20-point lead in the NFL if you could run the football. And at least slow the team down. I'm not saying stop them, slow them down. And then, of course, we can get to the onside kick where clearly the kids did not know the rules. I coach Little League football. One of the first things we do on Thursdays during the special teams is we teach people how to fall on the ball and get fetal and cover up. These guys watched it roll 10 yards like they thought they were the coverage team.
That was a hot potato, baby.
Yeah, like they were the coverage team. They were not the coverage team. They were the receiving team. They could touch the ball at any point. And everybody in football knows that. Arthur Blank doesn't think his team knew that. And the coach said they knew the rule, but nobody's given us a valid explanation as to why they did not dive on the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I'm overwhelmed. So now here's the question that has been burning. And, again, I'm going to say this, folks, before I put this up on the screen, let me say this. I had an opportunity to meet Dan Quinn. I think he had been in Atlanta all of about 3 days. And we were out at the Warwick Dunn Foundation, wonderful event he does each and every year at the East Lake Golf Course. I saw Coach Quinn come in, greeted him, very cordial. The guy said, "Hey, good to be in town." And for the first couple of years, until the communications department kind of said, "Hey, you can't really interact too much with a coach like that," he took time out. When he would see me on the field, he asked me, "Hey, how you doing? How's your family doing?" And so I really liked the guy. He seemed like a nice guy. He brought a very positive energy when he first got here after the dour personality of Coach Mike Smith. So I don't want to in any way, make this seem like I'm trying to just, jump on the bandwagon. However, the question now has to be asked, and I'm putting up here on social media so you guys can see it. The question is, in fact, should Coach Quinn now be asked to find a home somewhere else? I mean, is it time for the head coach of our Atlanta Falcons to be relieved of his duties? So that's the question I'm putting out there. What do you think? You guys can join us here. Put your comments in on social media, and we'll pop it up and let you comment. But that's my question. Should the head coach of our Atlanta Falcons, Dan Quinn, be fired? So, D-Led, I'm not going to toss that hot potato into your lap, sir.
Oh, yeah, no question about it, Reverend. And I just got a low battery sign, so I'm going to have to go plug in a second. But, my job is, as the beat writers to not, do the opinions and so forth. Of course, our columnist, Mark Bradley, has called for him to be terminated, said he's not the right guy for the job. I'm fine with Coach Smith. We had a good relationship. Everybody likes Coach Dan. He's a good guy. I met him when he was with Seattle because I had to cover him that week of the Super Bowl.
Right.
The one in Arizona and the one in New York. So, had a lot of interaction with the Seattle staff because of the Marshawn Lynch protest or not talking to the media. So, I was with Coach Carroll and, their Dave Pearson, their PR guy, a lot trying to get that worked out. So, but I mean, the record speaks for itself at this point. It's it is what it is. Since the Super Bowl loss, it's sub 500. Coach Smith got fired after 2 losing seasons. I think Arthur Blank's gonna let it play itself out. There's no rush to judgment here. He already made his decision to bring him back. No sense of doing it before he has time. So we here to talk. I'm here to cover it, whichever way it goes. I'm gonna stick to football, but I got columnists that are calling for the coach to be terminated. They were calling for him last year. And, the record's gone. He's going to make his case. These historic losses cannot be good. They're getting ready to allow fans back in the game. And fans might not want to come back in the game.
That's right. Well, I tell you guys, you have to come back for 2 reasons. Number one, we have to let D-Led get a chance to plug in his phone. And number two, for those people who are listening on WIGO, we have to let you guys go. We appreciate each and every one of you who've been listening to the broadcast. We thank you so much for that. And we also just want to say to you, until the next time we have a chance to get back together, please listen to WIGO Monday through Friday, except for Wednesday, for the Eli Smith Show. Wonderful gospel program he does each and every morning, brings you the latest and greatest and great gospel music. Please, guys, check them out on WIGO 1570. And the preacher got to let you go with this. If you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ, your personal Savior, please, ma'am, please, sir, get to know him today. Why? Because nobody loves you like Jesus, and that's the only way by which you can get into heaven. All right, until the next time, God bless you from WIGO, and good night. Now, for those of you on social media who are watching us, stay right here. Right now, we're taking a little, I don't want to say station break, but we're letting our guests for the evening get set because, as you know, most of us do these broadcasts now on our mobile devices, and mobile devices consume power, and they need power in order to operate. So lest our guests for the evening go off the air in the middle of his interview. We're gonna let him go ahead and get set and get his everything set up for his audio and video, and he might have battery power. So I'm gonna ask you guys a question right there. Again, should Coach Dan Quinn be fired? So the problem that we have with Coach Quinn is not him as a person. He's a nice guy. We've mentioned that many times, and he was a breath of fresh air for me, at least personally, versus Coach Mike Smith, who, for whatever reason, him and I didn't mesh that well. So it's like, we just it's just like I say, he's a breath of fresh air. A nice guy, very engaging. And of course, I guess for me too, it was the first time that the Falcons had allowed me to cover the team for an entire year. So I got a chance to come into the camp. And like I said, just had some great interaction with him. So I don't want to in any way slam against the guy personally, but the team has not played well for Coach Quinn since about midway through the third quarter of Super Bowl 51, if we'll really be honest. Now, of course, the next year they came back, went to the playoffs, and had not been for a missed-time Julio Jones jump, I think they would have went back to the Super Bowl again. But I think the results would have probably been the same. They probably would have lost the Patriots again, and it might have been worse the second go-round versus the first time, because I think the team that went to Super Bowl 51 was probably the greatest Falcon team ever to set foot on the field. That team was the perfect storm of rookies, of players coming into their own, veteran guys who now move to the next level of play in terms of Matt Ryan, in terms of Julio Jones, guys that already have been outstanding players. Julio, obviously, a first ballot Hall of Famer, but they all took their games to the next level that year. And then the explosive year of Devontae Freeman, who, kudos to him, who has now been picked up by the Giants, apparently now. That team just was, everything was there. And of course, you had the alchemist, Kyle Shanahan, a guy who went to be from being one of the most hated guys in Atlanta to be the most beloved guys, and back to the most hated guy again after the debacle of the Super Bowl. But basically, the Falcons were a team that was poised to win multiple Super Bowls, because if you really think of the way how dominant they were in the second half of 2016 and throughout the playoffs, this was a team that was just destroying everybody they played. You think about it. Now, don't get me wrong. We understand that Seattle was not necessarily 100%, and we certainly know the Green Bay Packers came in limping and shouldn't really have beaten Dallas to get to Atlanta. But the realities are, in quick succession, the Falcons were dominant against three of the best quarterbacks of their era. They handled Russell Wilson without a problem. They handled Aaron Rodgers without a problem, and for 3.5 quarters had handled Tom Brady without a problem, including having him throw a pick six. So let's get this thing straight, man. I mean, the Falcons were rolling. But since that midway through that third quarter, the Falcons have not been the same team, despite them playing. What did Dan Quinn call it when they came back that next year? It was called something about the suck. Yeah, we get all that stuff. But at the end of the day, the realities were the Falcons have not been the same team. So that's all I have to say about that. And I do believe that, the guys, might be fired. So we thank those of you who are logging on Periscope. Periscope is lighting us up here. Please put the hearts up there. We appreciate you for the hearts. And if those of you on Periscope want to comment, if you put your comment inside the box, if you pop it up, I'll actually put up on the screen. I'll answer your question there. Was we answering a question? It looks like he's got a charge. We're going to bring back the embedded speech beat writer of the Atlanta Falcons. The one and only D. Orlando Ledbetter is back. I believe he has power in his equipment. So praise the Lord. He won't cut off in the middle of the broadcast. Well, D-Led, as I explained to people while you were gone, we talked about this. The Falcons really have not been the same team since Coach Quinn had their team up late in the third quarter. They just have not played the same. That swagger, that ability to dictate the terms of the game have really been lost.
Yeah, Reverend, a couple things happened. That team got to the Super Bowl with 9 of the 11 starters were either in their first or second year in the league.
Right. Yep.
Trufant was out, so he wasn't there. That team, that core never got better.
Nope.
Keanu Neal, Deion Jones, Ricardo Allen all get hurt the 18th season. 17th season, they fight their way through. It was embrace the suck was what Coach said.
That's what it was. Embrace the suck. It was, yeah.
And they did good that year. They got up to Philly was on the 1 yard line and didn't finish. So, their lesson was they keep saying, well, we have to learn how to finish. They didn't finish the Super Bowl. They didn't finish in Philly in 17. In 18, it fell apart because they missed on Jalen Collins. They missed on Duke Riley. The people that they had drafted to come in couldn't play. They paid all their money to offense, so that meant they had to hit on the draft picks, and they didn't do it. And then, 18, you got the injuries. Then 19, last year, you start 1-7 because you're, overconfident or whatever. And then, you put it back together and go 6-2. You would have said, hey, they didn't beat anybody, but they did. They beat San Francisco, and they beat the Saints down in New Orleans. So you're like, oh, okay, this team is okay. And, they brought most of that team back, 20 new players. And now it's the same thing. It looks just like the beginning of last year with wide receivers running wide open, no pass rush. You can't even get off the field 3 times in a row. If you get 2 stops, that's all you're going to get. Seattle blew them out. It was a blowout. They scored some touchdowns. It was 31-10 with 11:21 to go. So,
right.
The 15 points they scored were at garbage time. So they got blown out that week. And then this week, they got one half. And then the second half, they got blown out again by 30. They got 30 points dropped on them in a half. So that suggested that team's not any good or they weren't ready to play.
Well, let's break that down a little bit. So what do you, in watching this team, what do you think are some of the keys to why this team cannot defend NFL top quality offensive teams?
Well, you got a couple of things have happened so far that we've seen that might be okay. That if they could do it for the whole game, Grady Jarrett, he can get loose. He's got to get loose. He can't be the only one getting loose.
Right. Yeah.
Dante Fowler hasn't done much. But he's on a bad ankle. Then Tack was actually playing good, and he gets hurt. Foye Olukon's playing good, incredible. 17 plays, he gets hurt. And the secondary, you got Isaiah Oliver out there. You knew he couldn't cover since the middle of last year, but he's still here. And you let your best corner go. And because I don't know what he wasn't down with the brotherhood or what was that? You let him go and you draft a rookie who might be okay, but he's getting beat right now. He's getting torched, which is going to happen. That's going to happen to a rookie. He'll get that fixed. But if you knew your problem was coverage, you let your top cover guy go, that doesn't make sense to me. And you knew you needed a pass rush. The best you could do is Dante Fowler, who, had one good season in L.A., they missed on Robert Quinn, so you got to draft somebody. So they haven't drafted or developed the talent. It doesn't fit well together. You got a middle linebacker who can't run around and do everything, although they're going to try it. Your safety's on one leg coming back from Achilles surgery. Ricardo's out. DeMonte Casey's a good player attacking the ball. But, he's 165 pounds trying to take on Ezekiel Elliott on the goal line. So he got ran over. Didn't look good. He got to get lower than that. So, it's been a bad display of football here after 2 games. And, I just had a quote from Phil Simms on the NFL, Inside the NFL show. He's saying, my God, won't somebody step up and cover somebody? They're not even covering. If you cover – hold them at this point. At this point, I'll take holding. Give me some hold. We don't even have a holding penalty. They're not even getting close enough to hold the guy. Which, people got mad at Robert Alford for holding, but at least he was with the guy. He's with this guy. These D-backs are not even in the picture frame. So, maybe that gets better because, maybe it gets better. But if it doesn't, we're in for a long season and, that question will become moot.
One of the things that you hit on a point that is not often discussed when you're talking about Atlanta Falcons is the psyche of the team on who they decide they want to get. And the Falcons to me, when I look, especially when I look at defensive players, they seem to have a reluctance to bring in a guy that has what they call it here, got that dog in him. If you remember, they brought in what's his name, Irvin, who Dan coached in Seattle. He was a guy that was dancing around the field in his excitement, talking about, hey, man, I'm just glad to be back home. A guy that seemed to have the ability to sack the quarterback. He had, I think, 4 or 5 sacks in, I think, 8 or 9 games for the Falcons. And they had him in on the cheap. And I thought, okay, here's a guy you're going to bring back because he got an edge. For some reason, mysteriously, they don't bring him back. I look at their draft choices. In the same year they drafted Takk McKinley, I think 3 positions later, another guy that to me has some big-time pedigree, with just on his last name alone, I would have drafted him, by the name of T.J. Watt, gets drafted. And, of course, we see what T.J. Watt has been doing since he has donned the uniform and played in the NFL. Now, people try to tell me, the scheme is different where he plays. That's a bunch of boop. You got a guy that has a motor like his big brother. And his whole thing is, I want to seek and destroy the quarterback. I'm not going to talk to you about it. I'm not going to talk about find me later. But what I'm going to do is that down after down, when I'm playing, you're going to have to find a way to stop me. And the Falcons don't seem to want those type of players. You're saying you want more beef up front. You had Dontari Poe. Now, I know you might have paid him a little extra money, but he's acquitting himself quite well on another team. All these guys that they've brought in here, it seems like you said, they can't seem to keep them if they don't be part of the brotherhood.
And another thing, Reverend, is they committed. They're following the Bill Polian model of Indianapolis. They pushed all their money on the offensive side of the ball,
right?
Figuring that, hey, we got enough acumen to find the defensive players on the low, and they haven't been able to do it. And as far as the dog thing, they've they went through the Michael Vick thing. A few arrests. The owner doesn't like a lot of headlines in the news section, is what he says. So yeah, the guys they draft have go through a character fitness test that they like to take folks through, and that's fine. I'm saying let's just take the best football players. T.J. Watt over Takk. Takk was he was coming out. He needed shoulder surgery, so he was injured a lot in UCLA. And guess what happened now since he's been in the NFL? He's been injured a lot. So you took a guy on a medical risk over the better football player, and it didn't pay off. They've done that a couple times. They did that with Puree Jerry when Clay Matthews Jr. was sitting on the board. So they don't draft the best football player. I think you get the best football players in here, then the coach can figure out what to do with them. He can't be married to a scheme because, they've switched the scheme 3 or 4 times already since he's been here. So if he had better players, he could play. You could just get in a 4-3 and go get it and, drop back and do like Seattle did. But, you don't have those kind of horses. So you're trying to trick people, getting a 3-4, getting a 4-3, drop, rush. You're doing all this stuff to try to stop people, and none of it's working.
Let's go to social media here. Comment is from Quan Johnson. He said, we need Arthur Blank gone. Well, that's the first. TD and Dan Quinn gone. He wants everybody gone in the top. They got to go. Well, listen, I mean, there's a lot of frustration, D. We talked about that earlier, is the fact that from a fan's point of view, the fans says, listen, the worst thing actually that happened to the Falcons was for them to do what they did in 2016 and 17, because it set the fan base up to believe that this team was a Super Bowl quality team year in and year out. And if you really, again, go back, if I go back to the beginning and look at, to his credit, what Dan Quinn understood his own deficiencies as a coach, he said, hey, for me to come in here, I got to have Shanahan to come along with me. Now, the problem with Shanahan is because of his youth and arrogance that he was unwilling at the beginning to play nice in the sandbox and created a lot of heat that was unnecessary. But in that second year, when he was really allowed to be unleashed, we saw what we've seen in other places. That guy knows how to make an offense hum. And that Falcons team was one of the best Falcons team. I forgot, it was the best Falcons team I had ever seen. And really, if we look at the record book, the 7th best offense in NFL history.
Yes.
Now, why Arthur Blank couldn't do what Robert Kraft did with Josh McDaniels and say, listen, you can collect a check at any time. You're 30-something years old, so you're going to be a head coach and make a lot of money in this league. We need you to do something with us really special. We think that we got a team right now that's got a window we could win multiple titles. So let's try to see if we can get 1 or 2 Super Bowl wins. Then you can go wherever you want to go.
Yeah,
But no.
in retrospect, a lot of people are giving that Super Bowl credit ride to Kyle Shanahan. He got an incredible deal, though. His dad put it together with John Lynch. Lynch played for his dad, and so they have worked that 6-year deal, which is unheard of in the NFL. It would have taken a great deal of resources to get him to turn that down. Which
I guess you're right.
Falcons have, so they could, if they wanted to do it, they could have did it.
That's my point.
Yeah, they wanted to do it, they could have did it, but there wasn't much talk about it in retrospect that they were going to try to match that or make it so that he could not turn that offer. Incredible offer down. He's in year 3 or year 6, and he's already been to 1 Super Bowl with a quarterback that's not very good. So they could have did that. As far as getting rid of everybody, Dimitrov, before he gets here, the Falcons are shoddy. They go to the playoffs right away, 4 or 5 of Matt Ryan's years. Right now it's up to 6 out of 12. Unprecedented winning in the history of the Atlanta Falcons. He's the best GM you ever had. But he's, in GM business, you don't get to rebuild your team but so many times. And you want to hit on 30% of your draft picks. You don't want any big misses. And he's had some pretty big misses and some pretty big hits. Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Grady Jarrett in the 5th round. So, be careful there on, what you wish for as far as a total breakdown. But, it's been 12 years, 13. You got to the Super Bowl. You built a playoff contending team. But, the game, might be time to move on.
Let's take a look here on social media. Let's go back here. H.C. Hardy, his comments are, you see him on the screen. He said, yes, he feels that Coach Quinn has lost the team after last year. To have 3 former NFL head coaches behind you as a benefit, but also a lot of pressure. But now there's 2 after the Malarkey retirement. And so either Morris or Cutter can be the interim coach and have this season to prove themselves. And also on social media, coming off of Facebook, we got Quan Johnson back. He said, I believe the talent is there for the schemes. Like, for instance, when he was blitzing for the first quarter, he got 3 turnovers and 20-0 lead, and then went to some type of zone coverage. I'm not understanding that. So that's really, I guess, where the frustration is with the fans, is that everybody, and again, we understand that, a pundit's a pundit, but everybody was talking about this Falcon team, D-Led, as being, remember a couple years ago, what were we told? That the Falcons allegedly had one of the best rosters in the NFL. Isn't that what we were told?
Yes, that was true.
So the fan frustration is, okay, if we're supposed to have such a good roster and we can play, again, we know football is a 4-quarter game, but we can play 2.5 quarters of not just good football, dominant football. What is going on with the coaches down the stretch?
Yeah, no question about it. They went out and got game managers and analytic guys, and I mean, if you can coach, you can coach. You need to, when you coach, you have to call a timeout.
Right.
You don't need no chart for that. You don't need no chart for when you go for 2, and so forth. I mean, that's part of the job, is being the head coach. But it's clear that just being a coordinator doesn't make you a coach. Dan Quinn never been a head coach, to my knowledge, at any level of football. Starting in college at Hofstra and then working up his way from the defensive line in the NFL. So the very first game he coached as the Falcons was his very first game as a head coach. So I'm fine with that. Okay, he needs some help. Get him the help he needs. You already knew that he wasn't a head coach before, and now you're going to make him one. So support him. And I think they have. They got him the coordinators he needed, bought him some veteran coaches in here. Hopefully he listened to them. But somebody, I don't know why you got rid of Keith Armstrong.
Right.
for the special teams coach because he wasn't your guy, and you get one of your guys from New York that you coach with, your buddies with, and he can't teach the kids how to jump on the onside kick apparently. So
Man, it's crazy. I mean, you talk about that whole concept, and that's another thing that nobody wants to talk about. How the fact that Dan Quinn, I understand that. Hey, listen, when you're out there, I get it. You want to quote unquote run with your guys, but if your guys are not capable, you can't do it because you look at. I mean, yes, did they collapse in the last quarter of the Super Bowl? Of course they did. But how on earth can you turn around and say I'm going to fire the entire coaching staff? This is a coaching staff that brought you to the Super Bowl. It wasn't just you, the entire staff, because you weren't willing to say, look, you know what? And never did Coach Quinn come out and say, hey, I screwed up. And that to me spoke volumes.
Nobody. And then Shanahan would never, he kind of said it a little bit this year that he should have ran the ball on 3rd and 1, but he won't say it. And that's all the people wanted to hear. Hey, we messed up. We should have ran the ball. We ran the ball 3 times. We're out of here, and we got the Super Bowl. But for some reason in their mind, that wasn't going to be the case. But they have never explained that. And then he goes out and does the same thing, blows another Super Bowl lead because he can't run the ball against Kansas City here. So, but yeah, the it's credible run if it's coming to an end. They started out fast. His teams were streaky.
Right.
They were really hot or really bad. And right now, he couldn't afford for them to be really bad at the beginning of the season because, it ain't going to be no back season to streak it out this year. So he had to come into this season. Granted, it's the pandemic and everything, and he didn't get to practice his joint practices with the I think it was the Jaguars and the Bills. Because they had to do something different to get ready for the season. But whatever they adjusted to didn't work because the defense is clearly not ready to play. And the offense is, you score 39 and 25, you should, be at the very least 1-1. And certainly can be 2-0.
Let's go to social media here on Periscope. Illard Smart, he said Dan Quinn took us to a Super Bowl and he has a winning record, but what on earth is going on now? Also on Periscope, we got Grandly Musin, and he said the guys look out of shape and for the last 2 quarters, both on offense and defense. So it's just, this is what fans are frustrated about. It's like you like Super Bowl, you see a team that clearly scheme, whatever, these guys came out and played with their hair on fire. And suddenly in the second half, we can't see that. And to me, what I see in both cases, as much as everybody talks about the great offense, the offense always seems to not be able to make a drive that they need to make in the clutch. You know what I mean? Don't be wrong. You say, hey, we got a 29-10 lead, but okay, you have another team that now the momentum is starting to shift. The 29-17, you need to answer right now. And that's the one thing that the Falcons don't really do consistently. You score 29 points in the first half and 10 points in the second half. 10 points. And that's the problem with this team. 28 points in the first half, 21 points in the first half of the Super Bowl, and you can only score 7 in the second half.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You want to play at a high level consistently.
Right.
Once you get there, you don't back off, or you don't relax. It's human nature to relax. And when you got these coaches running around, being all positive and cheery and, brotherhood right on and all that, guys tend to relax. They need to be, coast. You need to keep your foot on the gas. Like, hey, it's not time to back off. And, they don't have those kind of coaches over there, those old school coaches that's going to keep them out there fighting and keep them out there towing the line for the whole 4 quarters. And as far as not being in shape, well, we all expected that. No exhibition games. They don't hit in practice. So, you knew the tackling was going to be shoddy at the beginning. But the coverage should be better. But, yeah, they have some – it's a lot changed from the 2011 collective bargaining agreement that they should have figured out by now. the conditioning, the lack of hitting, all that stuff shows up early in the first 4 games of the NFL season. And this year's showing up really big because you didn't have the exhibition game. So these first 4 games, they're out there. They're going to be sucking air in the second half just because you can't simulate playing pro ball at a high level. And then you really need to be substituting guys more. But, they're not doing that. So, they really should use the whole roster early because guys are going to get tired. You got to, the way they're coached, this whole brotherhood thing maybe lends itself to some laxness. The team not being able to have a killer instinct and take people out. That's what I attribute it to. The Michael Jordans of the world, they're taking you out. These kids now, I don't think maybe it's too cushy and they're exchanging jerseys and, wearing shoes and stuff together and not, being aggressive and hostile to the opponent and taking them out. We haven't seen them take anybody out in a long time.
Yeah, there's no doubt. When you look at this team and you look at, again, the coaching staff that they had, speaking of different type of coaches, you had multiple old school guys on that coaching staff, including a guy, to me, as much as everybody maligned the defensive line of the Falcons, to me, he got a lot out of what they had, and you saw that in the postseason run. And that's the guy in Lord have mercy, I'm drawing a blank now. Played for the Bears, Brian
Cox.
Right. So if you looked at him, for example, a guy that was, and I understand he had off the field troubles, but a guy I always felt that he was beginning to get the most out of him and get what we saw, or at least what the coaches saw when they saw him in the Senior Bowl. And that's when he really started to extract more out of the defensive line. And if the Hart what was the young man's name? I can't think of it right now. One number 77. Was a huge. Coach Smith brought him in here.
Hageman from
Hageman, right?
Round pick.
Exactly. He was a guy that looked like he was starting to turn the corner. I always remember the press conference. I think it was the Packer game or maybe Seattle game where he had a big sack. I mentioned to Coach Quinn, and I said, "Hey, are you pleased with Hageman's performance as we head into the Super Bowl?" And he was like, "Well, a sack doesn't mean everything." And right then and there, that told me that it was more of a personality thing versus what we're seeing on the field. And matter of fact, I believe Hageman had a sack in the Super Bowl and some great tackles. So here was a situation where this was the kind of guy you need. 6'4", 6'5", 300 some odd pounds, could play inside, outside technique. And he just needed that Brian Cox guy to stand his behind, but say, "Listen, man, I'm on your behind because I want you to be better."
Yeah, that kid was bad news, though, Reverend Simmons. He didn't want to be coached that hard. If that kid played hard every down, nobody would have blocked him for 10 years.
There's no doubt.
That kid did not take well to the coaches of Brian Cox. They got into a fight up in Carolina. So Coach Quinn knew that kid, he ran and then he got into some trouble. So any chance of him maturing and growing up was didn't happen. They did give him another shot. But I know what you're saying about Coach Cox. Look at Vic Beasley. Gets 15.5 sacks with Brian Cox up on his grill every day.
Right.
So much so that Freeney would buffer.
Right.
But he was coaching that boy hard, and as soon as Brian Cox leaves, Vic doesn't do a thing. And don't even know if he wants to play anymore. He's over Tennessee.
That's the thing that for me, again, you had all the pieces in place. And I go back and say this again. People can say what they want, but the Mitroff, yes, he has some big misses. But overall, when you look at this guy's drafting and look at the number of guys that have been all pro at some point in their career, I mean, and like you mentioned, you got 6 playoff appearances in 12 years. And at one point, you have 4 and 5 years. Mm-hmm. You have 2 NFC championship appearances and a Super Bowl appearance. And in both cases, the championship year probably been tough for them to beat the Ravens, but you had a team that should have went to 2 Super Bowls and won at least 1 and possibly 2. So
maybe 4 because you had the number 1 seed in 2010, but you didn't have any D-backs and Aaron Rodgers cut you up. So you got four teams that could have been Super Bowl teams in the current administration's tenure.
So that's why I said, man, I'm with you. You got to be careful, man, because a good GM is hard to come by. Am I saying Dimitrov is perfect? By no means, I am not. But he has found the ability to at least really be able to draft skill players pretty darn well, as we saw with Matt Ryan, as we've seen with Julio Jones, even as we've seen with Calvin Ridley.
Mm-hmm. And he should have been able by now to get him some help on drafting linemen, because you go list the whole group of linemen. Even the good ones. I was okay with the Sam Baker draft. He got hurt. When he got hurt, he wasn't any good. When he was good, they won. Jake Matthews, they took him over Taylor Lewan, who's been to 5 Pro Bowls. But, he was he had some problems at Michigan. So that scared them away from him. He might have been the better player there.
Yep.
It's just a whole list of misses. Lamar Holmes, Peter Kahns. I like Lawrence Sidbury in the 4th round, but he didn't make it. They've been trying to find a pass rusher since John Abraham was traded from the Jets. They haven't been able to find one. They had Vic for the 1 year. But that was with Brian Cox, hands-on coaching method.
But guess what you need? Again, oh, Lord have mercy. All right. Well, I understand, guys. It is once again, the show goes very, very quickly, especially when we're very excited and very irritated about talking about our Falcons. But we got to go. So we're going to let D-Led tell you how you can find out more about your Falcons and really get some inside coverage, because keep in mind, guys, D-Led is actually part of a handful of reporters that actually are able to be at the practice and actually able to be a part of the Zoom call with the players and coaches. So if you really want to know what's going on the inside on a non-biased opinion, you got to listen very carefully to where you can find out more about the Falcons. D-Led, the floor is yours.
Yes, you can follow us on Twitter at DOrlandoAJC. Our Facebook page is Atlanta Falcons News Now. And, of course, you can always go to ajc.com and subscribe to our digital and physical paper. And, I just ask you to, go to the sports section and bookmark the Atlanta Falcons page. And we'll hit you with all the breaking news from the 3 guys cut from the practice squad today to whether they should sit Julio Jones with his hamstring injury in our Cover 9 at 9 blog that comes out every Wednesday at 9. And then we're up to our 213th episode of the Bowtie Chronicles podcast. Everything you need to know about the Atlanta Falcons. And that's out there on 8 a.m. on Wednesdays and then on Sunday nights after the games. Thank you, Reverend Simmons.
Well, thank you, D-Led. Now, you guys see, this is I've been waiting for him to break this out. He's been keeping a low key. He had the fedora the other day, but he busted out the bow tie, boys. That's it. That's you see here. The haberdashery is in full effect. D-Led, again, we appreciate you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us, man. And we look forward to having you back again real soon.
All right. Thank you, Reverend. Thanks for having me.
The Orlando Ledbetter, Esquire, Parks and Launch, again, the embedded beat writer for the Atlanta Falcons. We appreciate him for joining us on the broadcast as he does. Usually tries to do it every week if he can. But again, he is very, very busy, but he does take the time out to join us, and we appreciate him for doing that. And we want to say we appreciate you. All you guys who have tuned in to us here to chop it up here with the Falcons, be able to join in. Appreciate all the comments from you guys, especially on Periscope, you guys this week. Appreciate you, Ilal Smart here. Appreciate Quan Dil Musan. Thank you, Grand Dil Musan, as well. Also want to shout out the guys on Facebook like Quan Johnson and the head coach, or I call him the offensive coordinator, H.C. Hardy. Appreciate him. And also my girl, Cammie, who, I appreciate her stretching out and staying a little late to join us here. And I also appreciate her for sharing the broadcast and all of you who share the broadcast all over Facebook as well. So we appreciate you. And again, to replay viewers, thank you. Thank you, Matt. Thanks to you. Those of you watching on demand on YouTube, thank you. And of course, I love you on Facebook Live. You already know, because really all of you who have been watching on Facebook Live has built this show to do as well as has been able to do in the live streaming. So we appreciate you, appreciate the different groups that you guys allow me to share on your pages. I don't take that for granted, because you can say, hey, I'm going to boot you off the page. So all you guys that let me do it, whether it be the Falcons groups, the Hawks groups, the different business groups like the Black business groups, and all you guys that let me share on your pages, thank you. All right, the minister can't leave the broadcast without always asking you about the spiritual man and your connection with God through his son, mighty Yeshua HaMashiach, which is Jesus Christ. I tell you, please, if you don't have a relationship with God through Jesus Christ, please get to know him today. Why? Because Yeshua, Jesus loves you. He loves you because he made you, number one. He died for you, that horrific death on the cross, that your sins can be forgiven. And he's got it set up, man, and we can join him in heaven. How cool is that? And avoid that bad place called hell. So I'm just saying, get to know Jesus Christ today. You won't regret it because nobody loves you like him. Not your mom, not your auntie, not your grandmama and them, not your bae, no, your boo, even even your BFF. Nobody loves you like Yeshua, aka Jesus the Christ. All right, guys. We again appreciate you so much for sharing our broadcast, for listening to us talk a little sports, talk a little politics, talk even a little spiritual things as we do at the end. And we appreciate you for allowing us to do that on your various pages. And those of you watching on demand, especially, we thank you because that means that even though you couldn't catch us live, you thought well of us enough to turn in and to watch us on your time on demand. All right. I hope that the Lord blesses you real good. Until next time, God bless you and have a great night. So long.